Welcome to The Chat on Newsday Amarillo and News Channel 10-2. I'm David Lovejoy.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Rhonda Lahnert.
And I'm Chuckalicious, Chuck Williams.
And we're joined by a familiar face here on The Chat, a man that stands up in his community, wants to be a voice, wants to be a part of the change and the positivity in his community, Mr. Joe Marr Wilson. He's running for the bench in the 108th District Court. Great to see you, Joe Marr. How you been doing?
Been doing well, David. Thanks for having me today.
Anytime. Chuck, go ahead and lead us.
Mr. Wilson, you know, it seems to me as though the 108th, it seems like its docket is getting more and more complicated, and it seems like it's just about filling up. Is it really ready for this, and are you ready for it with the volume of cases coming up?
Chuck, definitely, I believe that I am. Because the 108th takes a larger amount of cases, criminal cases and family law cases in Potter County, I'm in that court a lot, so I see the workings of it. Judge Woodburn's been working on that court for the last 16 years or so. It actually works fairly well in our local court system comparatively, but there's definitely a lot of backlog everywhere.
Right.
There's just too many cases. And I think I'm well suited and have the relationships with all the major stakeholders in this to be able to try to find, some avenues to make it even more efficient. The old saying that justice delayed is justice denied is generally very true. And you have to have enough time that people can get a fair trial. I mean, you can't rush things through, but it needs to go faster than it does. I mean, we have people that are getting tried that have been in jail for over 2 years.
Right.
And, you're presumed innocent. So, that's 2 years you've lost of your life that you may not ever be punished for what you were charged with.
Wow. Wow.
Well, with too many cases, how do you expedite this and get this done in a more timely, fashion? What are some of the options that you look at to get that done?
Well, what you got to always think about is that the core aspect of this is that everybody that's charged with a criminal offense is entitled to a jury trial if they want one. And most cases are resolved by some sort of arrangement or agreement, a plea bargain, if you will, between the parties, because if you didn't, the system would collapse. We can only try so many cases, and you have to figure out ways to resolve it. So keeping that in mind, that the person can always have that trial, what both sides are trying to do is evaluate what do they think, a case is worth. And in some ways that seems very cynical to think of it that way. I mean, in a criminal case, everybody wants justice, whatever that is, but it's like anything else in life. There has to be compromises. Mm-hmm. And so the way to do it first is have very good communication and very good rapport and relationship with the major players. And the major players in this are the district attorney's office and the defense lawyers. And the district attorney's office disproportionately holds the power of how these cases get to try, how many cases get filed, how many cases, what types of cases. They generally are in control of the plea bargaining aspects. And so you have to have a good relationship with them, which Jason Herring, our DA, I believe I have a good relationship with him, and try to find a way to do that. In the end result, if you can't get everybody completely on the same page, then you've got to figure out what cases need to go to trial, push those, try to get everybody to understand what they think juries in Potter County are going to do. And then that sort of sends it kind of sets a standard out there. If you've got a certain case, maybe this is the appropriate resolution. This is what a jury did to it last week.
Joe Marr, can you sit on the bench and work it or run it with compassion? There's such a thing as a judge having compassion.
Definitely, David. One thing that I've spent my life standing beside people as they stand in front of a judge. And, sometimes, I guess, depending on what's going on with my client, that puts me I'm in a better position than they are. But, I've stood beside the lady that made a mistake and maybe she's going to lose her kids. I've stood beside the kid, because that's what he was. It was 19 years old that received the death penalty. These are all people. we're dealing with. When you start forgetting that they're people, then we start dehumanizing the system. Everybody's entitled to dignity and respect. There was a gentleman that was a very, very good friend of mine. He's passed now, but he was a bailiff in one of the courts for many years. And he had a daughter that had been, her home had been burglarized and she was raped and killed. But he was always so good with the people he brought into court. Mainly he was dealing with people that were incarcerated. He was bringing them in from the holding, and they might be violent people. Maybe they'd hurt women. And I asked him one time, I said, how do you do that given what you've been through? And he said, I just have always tried to treat everybody with respect until they give me a reason not to.
Right.
And I've always kind of used that as a touchstone. We're all a couple of bad decisions away from not very far from where some of these people are, certainly in criminal cases. And we concentrate on that in this court in the 108s, but it has a very, very large volume of family law cases too, which, to be quite honest, is more likely where one of our voters is going to run into the system, is in family law. There's more and more family law litigation than there was when I started 35 years ago.
Yeah.
And it is difficult. When I'm take a show of hands here, that anybody's been through any type of divorce proceeding or anything like that, how personal and how emotional that gets, and you have to walk a line between letting these people have their time to do what they need to do, and then of course you got to rein them in whenever they get a little out of control. And I'm a firm believer. It's kind of like doctors. You can have the smartest doctor in the world, and if he's rude to you and condescending to you, you don't have a lot of faith in him. You can have the biggest quack in the world. If he's really nice to you, you think you're going to get well. It's kind of the same way. People need to walk out of that courthouse, and even if they didn't get what they want, they need to feel like that they got a fair shot, that they got heard, and they got a fair shot. And I really believe that I can do that because I stood beside so many of these people when they've had these issues that are very, very difficult for them in their life.
District Court 108 in the Texas Panhandle hears almost exclusively family and criminal law cases. And Joe Marr is only one of 14 attorneys in the entire state of Texas that's certified by the Board of Legal Specialists in both family and criminal law. He wants to bring that 35 years of experience to the 108th to be not a zealot or an advocate, but to be what the title says, a judge, a fair, impartial judge. You can go to his website, joemarwilsonforjudge.com, dig in, find some information if you want to support his campaign. Joe Marr, thank you so much for your time this morning. We really appreciate you. Good luck.
Hey, guys. Thanks, y'all. Have a good weekend.
Anytime. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more chat right here on Newsday Amarillo and News Channel 10-2.